Hi YouTube! Thanks for tuning in for the second part of the second episode. It'll bit off a bit more than I can chew, so I did. With that whole comparing and contrasting three different movies. I'm still new to this and I'm kind of feeling my way through it, and I honestly wrote enough content for way more than one episode. So instead of giving you one totally stripped down episode, I decided to give you three for the price of one. Here's episode 2.2. The bad one. Whew, this is gonna be, okay, we're gonna do this fast. The bad one establishes the Musketeers first as some kind of SEAL Team 6 group of badasses who work with a woman simply known as Mila Jovovich. They work with Mila Jovovich and they call her Milady. And she exists in this movie basically to be a dick. She helps the Musketeers steal the blueprints to this war machine thing, and then she betrays them, runs off with Orlando Bloom, who's supposed to be the Duke of Buckingham, but he's really more like the Duke of weird costume choices and smug demeanor. In the movie, Buckingham is supposed to be a villain, but we don't really know why. So he falls into this thing, which I think all of the villains kind of fall into in this movie, where they're not really bad guys, they're just assholes. They're just all very poorly structured characters. It hurts my brain to watch. That's why I call it the bad one. Then they introduce D'Artagnan, who has this whole heartwarming exchange with his father about being a man, making his own way in the world, and his mother gets this awkward nod. 2 lines and a hug. Okay, we get it, not the mama's boy. After this weird and off-putting establishing scene, D'Artagnan heads out for Paris, and Rochefort insults his horse.
Oh, it's a horse, is it? My friends here thought it was a cow.
So D'Artagnan does the mature and adult thing and threatens to kill him.
I shall have to kill you.
Rochefort then shoots him. So Darty shakes off a bullet. We never see the bullet get removed from him, so we can just assume that for the better part of this movie, he's running around with, I don't like this movie, it's dumb. So when D'Artagnan gets to Paris, he sees Rochefort and he's like, that's the motherfucker, I'm gonna go motherfuck that motherfucker. So he bumps into Athos and eventually bumps into Porthos, and he loses Rochefort and eventually meets Aramis. After he meets the Musketeers, he challenges them to duels because he's just gonna fight everybody. I don't fucking know, I don't understand his motivations at all. He wants to become a musketeer, but then he's kind of just like, all right, well, I'll just kill people. When the Musketeers show up for the duel, Darty finds out who they are. Apparently they're famous, so they're also spies. Now they just kind of hang out now. The Cardinal's guards show up and D'Artagnan fights like all of them, and the Musketeers just kind of stand there and watch. And then they decide, hey, we're gonna throw down. Between the 4 of them, they take on like 40 people. Bullshit. This is all happening in a time when dueling is outlawed in Paris. It's a crime, punishable sometimes by public execution. And these guys pick the most public of places. I can't with this movie anymore. The king is overjoyed to hear that 4 of his musketeers, kicking the asses of 40 of the Cardinal's guards, decides to reward them all with new suits, even though he should be cutting their heads off. So anyway, the Duke of Buckingham shows up in one of these, makes the king feel insecure in his marriage, and bounces. The king thinks that Buckingham and his wife are digging up the sand crab behind his back. So at the suggestion of the Cardinal, he decides to throw a party to discover the truth of this matter. His plan is to ask her to wear a necklace that he gave her, one which he believes she has given to the Duke of Buckingham as a token of her affection. Milady has, however, stolen the necklace at the request of the Cardinal. So, blah 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 blah, Darty and the 3 unremarkable people called the Musketeers steal Buckingham's airship and the necklace, then fight Rochefort, and yeah, happily ever fucking after. I know I skipped a lot of the details, but talking about this movie actually causes me physical pain, so I am moving on.
Things I liked.
So, in the bad one, I think Christoph Waltz really could have saved this movie. There's plenty of moments where he could have fucking chewed the scenery. But I guess even this brilliant actor alchemist can't spin shit into gold. Now, maybe if they had hired Charles Dance. Did anyone else hear the reins of Castellan just now? And speaking of chewing the scenery, the sets in this movie might be the only thing I actually like about this flick. I mean, look at it. They're larger than life. And they have all the presence and sense of grandeur that one might expect from 17th century French royalty, which was some kind of lacking in the other movies, I'm gonna be honest with you. But, that being said, polishing a turd and tying a fancy bow around it does not make it a chocolate treat. Still a shiny piece of shit in a fancy wrapper. Waltz's Richelieu seems to be acting out of frustration with the incompetence of the monarch he is forced to serve and schemes behind his back to supplant him.
I tire of these royal children. It's time to make our move.
This actually sort of makes him something of a sympathetic character, especially when the king shows up. I mean, God, he's unlikable. You don't believe me? Just watch a piece of this scene.
There. What do you think of that?
Your Majesty is a force of nature.
Took you by surprise, eh?
Yes, indeed you did. May we speak a little about foreign policy?
It's not about Buckingham, is it?
Oh, I'm afraid it is.
It speaks for itself. Waltz is never actually seen doing anything evil or creepy like Curry, with perhaps the exception of this one scene where the Queen confronts him to tell him she knows what he's plotting.
What do I always...
I know.
Yeah, I assume this is the part where I'm supposed to laugh maniacally and regale your Majesty with the details of some diabolical plot. However, I regret to inform your Majesty that I have no idea of what you're talking about.
I thought you'd say that.
Then why did you grace me with the honor of your visit?
To look into your eyes when you said it.
At the end of the movie, he does end up in the king's good graces.
Let me get this right. You brought me an airship and exposed a snake in our midst. How can I ever repay you?
So it's almost difficult to look at him as the villain. He's kind of overshadowed by Rochefort, which is sort of unique to this movie because Richelieu is the big bad guy. There's not enough Waltz to save this movie. That one scene I already showed you, that's the best scene he's in this whole fucking movie. Some things you like. No. Do I gotta say it? I'll fucking say it. Flying ships. Why? It's embarrassingly out of place. What, you too good for carriage chases? Huh? Not enough action packed for you? You gotta swing your big budget CGI dick around just to be fucking different. Well, I think it's stupid as shit. Can we talk about how there's two separate scenes wherein Mila Jovovich does this stupid booby trap navigation Catherine Zeta-Jones shit? Mila Jovovich, she dips beneath things that resemble but are not in fact lasers. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Once is okay, twice is just unnecessary. Which, again, brings me to the point of this whole look at us with our big fucking budget complex that this movie has. Look at these stupid CGI things we don't need. Look at this spectacle. And maybe it will distract you from the fact that our script is garbage and all of our actors are bored out of their minds. D'Artagnan is played by Percy Jackson. I mean, Logan Lerman. I mean, Lerner Logan. Yeah, I was right the second time. Logan Lerman, sorry. And he's kind of a force of nature. Unequaled in swordsmanship, dry of wit and boyish charm, he never really appears to be out of his element. With perhaps the exception of one scene where the king addresses his clothes.
You do look a little underdressed.
These are the only clothes I have.
My lord, I should have to rectify that. Can't have my musketeers, or the son of one, looking like tramps.
It's the only time he seems at a loss of what to say, or even sort of vulnerable. And it boils down to some classist vanity bullshit. He's honestly the least complicated and least interesting iteration of D'Artagnan. Athos, in the bad one, played by Matthew Macfadyen, oof. Where to start? First of all, the Musketeers are kind of like celebrities in this world, and also spies? And Athos is definitely the leader. He's the only one with any sort of character development or story arc in this movie other than D'Artagnan. McFadden's Athos also has a past with Milady. She's this movie's Countess de Winter, but we actually get to see the tragic backstory that breaks Athos in like the first 10 minutes of the movie. His love for her is the only obstacle he really has to overcome in the movie, and it kind of defines him as this bitter old curmudgeon who defies your expectations and says, choose love.
I made a lot of sacrifices, a lot of hard choices. For honor, for king, for country. You want to know what I've learned, boy? Hard choices and sacrifices do not keep you warm at night. Life is too damn short, too damn long to go through without someone at your side. Don't end up like me. Choose the woman. Fight for love, D'Artagnan.
Because apparently he hasn't learned anything. He's over her enough to bring her to justice, but not enough to actually kill her. I know, right? Half measures. Porthos, played by Ray Stevenson. He has no story arc and is relegated to the funny strongman of the trio. But Stevenson's portrayal of the character is neither intimidating nor funny. While Porthos in the books is described as having prodigious strength, there's just no fucking way that this is even remotely possible. There are movies out there that ask you to suspend your disbelief, but this takes advantage of your suspension of disbelief in so many ways, and that's one of the reasons why I think it fucking sucks. This scene is also the last fucking time we see Porthos do anything even remotely related to him having superhuman strength. If you're gonna have a character who's the muscle, he should use his muscles more than just the fucking first scene in the movie. Stevenson's Porthos is kind of like that uncle who used to be really cool when he was in his 20s and spent his 30s and 40s trying to recapture that by lying to his nieces and nephews about bands he never saw live, complete with horrible earring. Aramis, played by Luke Evans, is also the heartthrob religious type, but is completely forgettable. He's given no arc and no real area of expertise, apart from, though he's handsome in that one scene in the beginning. Kind of like Porthos is strong in that one scene in the beginning, but their talents are never put to use again. It was like they tried to build him like the 17th century A-team, and it doesn't work because it never becomes relevant again anywhere else in the fucking story. It felt like they didn't actually know what to do with the character of Aramis in this movie. There's actually a scene where he gives D'Artagnan a ticket for not cleaning up horse shit.
What is this? It's a citation. It's a ticket. Failure to remove animal bowel movements from public area.
Really? In the 17th century? Alright. His religious background never comes into play for any reason, and his gentlemanly good looks are never really put to any kind of use. He's a sidekick to Athos at best, hanging around only to babble some pointless exposition.
Athos! You do know what's up, don't you?
Hold your breath.
I hate to ruin the mood, but perhaps we could go elsewhere.
It's a poorly structured character, like every other character in this fucking movie. Rochefort is played by Mads Mikkelsen, who is a very accomplished actor, and he's more or less relocated to a bad James Bond villain in this movie. And unfortunately, as a byproduct of this complete lack of any reason for this character's villainy, we don't really care when D'Artagnan beats him at the end of the movie. He's a villain, you're supposed to hate him, not just accept that he's gonna be thwarted in the end. You're supposed to cheer for the hero to defeat him. This is a fucking mess of a character. What I would have changed. Let's take about 20 to 25% off the old CGI budget there, big shoots. Now, I know that this movie was made by Impact Pictures, and they're the production company and creative team responsible for the fucking Resident Evil movies, but this is all pretty much just spectacle and no substance. And this is what I hate about modern cinema. All the fucking money in the world will not turn a shitty script into a good movie. And this one is a doozy. I'm really not gonna waste your time and my time by going into all the things I would have changed to make this pile of shit watchable, because nobody's got time for that. It would be a total teardown and restructuring of the script. Maybe one day when I'm feeling really fucking masochistic. Thanks for watching. Stick around. And by that I mean literally stay right where you are, because I still got one more episode coming your way. The thrilling conclusion of the Three Musketeers. No, seriously, I thank you. From here and here, mostly here, because this is just mostly hair. As always, the Clearing the Queue theme song and other songs featured in this episode were written and recorded by my good friend Chuck Miller. And I swear, as soon as I get a link to share, I'll have one and it'll be down there. Until then, you just keep on watching and I'll just keep on doing. I'll keep doing me, you keep doing you. Let's make this thing work, huh?